Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel and a huge welcome to all of you joining us live stream. Thank you so much for joining us and thank you so much for joining this live stream. I'm so excited to have you here today. So if you were with me last Friday, oh my gosh, what an amazing stream that was. We had such an incredible time diving into the fundamentals together. We explored the Khan Academy, we broke down what interest really means. We talked about that mind-blowing rule of 72. Let me show you my notes. Just 1 second. Alright, as you can see right here, we went through the compound interest basics, compound interest, and the rule of 72, right? And we even got into those powerful formulas. As you can see, the formula, simple interest formula, 1 period, simple interest formula, more than 1 period. Oh, sorry for my typo. And compound interest formula. And then, well, all of that show exactly how compound interest works. It's magic. For those of you who missed the Friday's session, don't worry. You can definitely catch up by watching the replay. But basically, we went back to the basics because even though I've got years of investing experience, I truly believe that having a rock-solid foundation is everything when it comes to building wealth. Now today we're picking up exactly where we left off. We're going to continue this journey on Khan Academy because there is still so much incredible content we haven't explored yet. I want to keep building on those fundamentals we covered on Friday and take you guys even deeper into the world of finance and capital markets. So if you got Khan Academy pulled up from last time, perfect. Now let me show you. Here we go. But if you're new here and want to follow along, just search the Khan Academy. As you can see here, KhanAcademy. Sign in with your Google account. It's really easy and simple. And head over to their finance and capital markets section. That's where we will be hanging out today. I'm really excited about what we're going to discover together today. The learning never stops, right? And honestly, that's what I love most about this community. We're all here to grow our financial knowledge together. So grab your coffee, get comfortable, and let's dive right back into Khan Academy. Are you guys ready to level up your financial education even more? Let's do this. Alright, perfect. Now here we are back on our Khan Academy dashboard. Right here, this is our dashboard. And I'm so excited to show you exactly where we are in our learning journey together. As you can see on the screen right now, we're in the finance and capital market section. This is our home base, guys. We're specifically diving deep into the unit 1. So we're diving into the unit 1, interest and debt. Now, this might not sound like the most exciting topic in the world, but trust me, understanding interest and debt is literally going to change how you think about money forever. So here's what's really cool. Khan Academy has organized this into 10 total units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, as you can see, the 10 units on the left side, 10 in total, right? 10 units in total, which means we have so much incredible content to explore together. But let's focus on where we are right now on unit 1. Now, if you guys were with me last Friday and if you were not, seriously go back and watch that replay after this stream. Thank you so much. And make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss out our educational content. To make sure you never miss our educational content, please hit that subscribe button and you can see these little blue check marks here. As you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 blue check marks, right? Those check marks are like our victory badges. They show us exactly what we conquered together in our last session, in our last stream, just last Friday at the same time, 9 a.m. Let me break down what we absolutely crushed last Friday. We completed our 4 amazing videos. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? First, we tackled the compound interest basic section, where we watched 2 short videos. Remember that mind-blowing compound interest introduction video? You remember that? Let me know in the chat if you remember that, alright? And then that incredible rule of 72 video that showed us how to calculate when our money doubles. I'm pretty sure you remember that. Hit that like button and let me know in the chat. Honestly, the 72 rule is really a game changer. Then we moved into the interest basics, where we completed 2 more videos. Interest basics, the introduction to interest, and another compound interest deep dive. So that's 4 videos total that we've mastered together. Now here's where it gets exciting for today's stream. We're about to venture into brand new territory. Looking at our roadmap here, we've got some really practical real-world stuff coming up. The next session is credit card and loans, right? As you can see, credit card and loans this session, and oh my gosh, this is stuff you're going to use in your everyday life, guys. After that, we've got, what do we got? We've got continuous compound interest. Then what? Present value, right? And even personal bankruptcy. These are not just academic concepts. No, not just academic concepts, folks. These are literally the financial tools and knowledge that can protect you and help you build wealth. Now, I'm not 100% sure how much we'll be able to cover today, because I want to make sure we really understand each concept before moving on. Quality over quantity, right? But I'm thinking we can definitely make some serious progress today. So let's dive into this credit cards and loans section. So as you can see, there are 3 short videos waiting for us here. We've got the annual percentage rate, APR, and effective APR. Super important stuff if you have ever had a credit card or loan. Then institutional roles in issuing and processing credit cards. This is going to blow your mind about how the credit card industry actually works. And what? And finally, payday loans, which honestly everyone needs to understand about this. This could save you from making some really expensive mistakes. So guys, if you're learning alongside us and you haven't subscribed yet, this is a perfect time. We are building this incredible financial education journey together, and you don't want to miss a single lesson, right? Alright everyone, are you ready to become a credit card loan expert? Let's click on that first video and keep this learning momentum going. Alright everyone, let's take a moment to read through this description together, because this is going to set us up perfectly for what we're about to learn. So here's what Khan Academy tells us about this video. APR stands for annual percentage rate. Okay, let me highlight that. It's a yearly interest rate you pay on loan or credit card. However, a credit card's advertised APR isn't the true interest rate because it compounds daily. Learn how to calculate the effective APR to find a card's true interest rate. Created by Cellcom. Now guys, this description alone should make you sit up and pay attention. So let's sit up and pay attention together. Did you catch that super important detail? It says the credit card's advertised APR is not the true interest rate. Right? Oh my gosh. What? This is exactly the kind of insider knowledge that credit card companies don't want you to understand. This is why I love Khan Academy so much. They are literally pulling back the curtain on how financial institutions work. When you see a credit card ad that says 15% APR, that's not actually what you're paying because, and here's the kicker, it compounds daily. Remember last Friday when we talked about how powerful compound interest is when it's working for you? I'm gonna pull it out. Let me check. Well, when you owe money, that same power is working against you. And notice who created this video? Cellcom himself. For those of you who don't know, Cellcom is the founder of Khan Academy, and he's basically a legend in the education world. This guy, let me highlight his name. This guy has taught millions of people around the globe. If you're just joining us and you're realizing how much valuable content we're covering, make sure to hit that subscribe button right now. We're not just watching random videos, we are building real financial literacy that's going to save your money and help you make smarter decisions. This is exactly why we're going back to these fundamentals, folks. Everyone pay attention. Thank you. And difference between the advertised APR and effective APR could literally cost you hundreds or even thousands of dollars if you don't understand it. Alright? Are you guys excited to see behind the scenes how credit card interest really works? Let's hit that play button and let the Cellcom blow our minds. Here we go.
Easily the most quoted number people give you when they're publicizing information about their credit cards is the APR. And I think you might guess, or you might already know, that it stands for annual percentage rate. Annual percentage rate. Percentage rate. And what I want to do in this video is to understand a little bit more detail on what they actually mean by the annual percentage rate, and do a little bit of math to get the real, or the mathematically, or the effective annual percentage rate. So I was actually just browsing the web and I saw some credit card that had an annual percentage rate of, they say it's a 22.9% annual percentage rate, but then right next to it they say that we have 0.06274% daily periodic rate, which to me, this piece right here tells me that they compound the interest on your credit card balance on a daily basis, and this is the amount that they compound. So where do they get these numbers from? Well, if you just take 0.06274 and multiply by 365 days in a year, you should get this 22.9. And let's see if we get that. And of course, this is percentage, so this is a percentage here, and this is a percent here. Let me get out my trusty calculator and see if that is what they get. So if I take 0.06274, remember this is a percent, but I'll just ignore the percent sign. So as a decimal, I would actually add 2 more zeros here. But 0.06274 times 365 is equal to Right on the money. 22.9%. You might say, hey Sal, what's wrong with that? That's, they're charging me 0.06274% per day. They're going to do that for 365 days a year. So that gives me 22.9%. And my reply to you is that they're compounding on a daily basis. They're compounding this number on a daily basis. So if you were to give them $100, and if you didn't have to pay some type of a minimum balance, and you just let that $100 ride for a year, you wouldn't just owe them $122.9. They're compounding this much every day. So if I were to write this as a decimal, so let me just write that as a decimal. So 0.0627%. As a decimal, this is the same thing as 0.000627. These are the same thing, right? 1% is 0.01. So 0.06% is 0.0006 as a decimal. Now, this is how much they're charging every day. And if you watch the compounding interest video, you know that if you wanted to figure out how much total interest you would be paying over a total year, you would take this number, add it to 1. So we have 1 point this thing over here, 0.000627. And instead of just taking this and multiplying it by 365, you take this number and you take it to the 365th power. You multiply it by itself 365 times. That's because if I have $1 in my balance, on day 2, I'm going to have to pay this much times $1, 1.0006274 times that dollar. On day 2, I'm going to have to pay this much times that, times this number again, times the $1. So let me write that down. On day one, maybe I have $1 that I owe them. On day 2, it'll be $1 times this thing, 1.006274. On day 3, I'm going to have to pay 1.00, actually I forgot a 0.6274 times this whole thing. So on day 3 it'll be $1, which is the initial amount I borrowed, times 1.000, this number, 6274. That's just that there. And I'm going to pay that much interest on this whole thing again. I'm compounding 1.0006274. So as you can see, we've kind of kept the balance for 2 days, and I'm raising this to the second power. If I'm multiplying it by itself, I'm squaring it. So if I keep that balance for 365 days, I have to raise it to the 365th power. And this isn't counting any kind of extra penalties or fees. So let's figure out, and this right here, this number, whatever it is, this is, once I get this and I subtract 1 from it, that is the mathematically true, that is the effective annual percentage rate. So let's figure out what that is. So if I take 1.0006274, and I raise it to the 365 power, I get 1.257. So if I were to compound this much interest, 0.06% for 365 days, at the end of a year, or the 365 days, I would owe 1.257 times my original principal amount. So this right here is equal to 1.257. So I would owe 1.257 times my original principal amount, or the effective interest rate. Let me do it in purple. The effective interest rate, effective APR, annual percentage rate, or the mathematically correct annual percentage rate here, is 25.7%. And you might say, hey Sal, that's still not too far off from the reported APR, where they just take this number and multiply by 365, instead of taking this number and taking it to the 365 power. You're saying, hey, this is roughly 23%, this is roughly 26%. It's only a 3% difference. But if you look at that compounding interest video, even the most basic one that I put out there, you'll see that every percentage point really, 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 really matters, especially if you're going to carry these balances for a long period of time. So be very careful. In general, you shouldn't carry any balances on your credit cards, because these are very high interest rates, and you'll you'll end up just paying interest on purchases you made many, many years ago, and you've long ago lost all of the joy of that purchase. So I encourage you to not even keep balances, but if you do keep any balances, pay very close attention to this. That 22.9% APR is still probably not the full effective interest rate, which might be closer to 26% in this example. And that's before they even count the penalties and the other types of fees that they might throw on top of everything.
Wow, okay everyone, we just watched that video together and I am blown away. Did you guys catch what just happened? Okay, Selhan literally just exposed how credit card companies are basically tricking us with their advertised rates. Let me break this down because this is absolutely mind-blowing and could save you thousands of dollars. So you know how credit card companies love to advertise that 22.9% APR rate?
Purchases you made many, many years. Pay very close attention to.
Let's just pause it here. Well, guess what we just learned? That's not the real rate you are actually paying. The real rate, what Sel called the effective APR. Not the advertised APR, the effective APR. That's a real rate, and that's almost 3% higher than what they're advertising. And here's the sneaky part that most people don't understand. They are compounding your interest daily. So let me type it down. Compounding your daily. We've talked about the compound interest rate in our last stream. So if you wanna just catch up, definitely just do the replay after this stream. Thank you so much. So every single day, remember last Friday when we talked about how amazing the compound interest is when it is working for you? Well, when you owe money on a credit card, that same powerful force is working against you, and it's happening every 24 hours. This is exactly why I keep telling you guys to subscribe and keep learning this stuff with us, because financial institutions are counting on you not understanding these concepts. They are literally making billions of dollars from people who don't know the difference between the advertised APR and effective APR. Let me put that. Advertised APR and the effective APR. Let me put this in perspective for you. So, for example, if you had $1,000 balance and you thought you were paying 22.9% interest, right? Another example. For example, you have $1,000 and you thought you were paying 22.9% interest. You might think, okay, that's $229. Yeah, you might think like this way. Okay, that's $229 in interest for the year, But the real effective rate of 25.7% means we're talking about this one, the 25.7%. 25.7%. Now calculate that. How much? You are actually paying $257, right? So let's compare these two numbers. That's an extra $28 just because of daily compounding. And that's just on $1,000. Imagine if you had $5,000 or maybe $10,000 in credit card debt. We're talking about hundreds of extra dollars that you didn't even know you were paying. This is why sales advice at the end is so powerful. He said you shouldn't carry balances on credit cards at all. Wow, that's really powerful and really important. Let me type it down on my notes. You should not carry balances on credit cards at all. Because what? Because these rates are just insane. You end up paying interest on purchases you made years ago and you've completely forgotten the joy of whatever you bought. If you're just joining us and you're realizing how much money this knowledge could save you, please hit that subscribe button right now. I don't ask for anything else, just hit that subscribe button. And we're not just learning theory here, we're learning how to protect your wallet from these kinds of hidden tricks. And here's what I want you to take away from this. Knowledge is power. Now that you understand how daily compounding works against you and with credit cards, you can make smarter decisions. You know the real cost of carrying a balance, right? Alright everyone, are you ready to dive into the next video? Because if this one opened your eyes, wait until you see what else Khan Academy has in store for us. Let's keep this financial education momentum going. Alright everyone, let's move on to our next video. I'm clicking on institutional roles in issuing and processing credit cards right now. Now, as always, let's read through this description together about this video. First, let's read this because it gives us a perfect preview of what we're about to learn. Let me read it for you. The institutions involved in processing your credit card and how they relate to each other, created by Khan. Now guys, this might seem like a simple description, but I am so excited about this topic. Why? Because most of us use credit cards every single day, but we have absolutely no idea what's happening behind the scenes. When we swipe the card or tap it at the store, think about it. When you buy your morning coffee and you tap your credit card, there's this whole invisible network of institutions working together in just a few seconds to make that transaction happen. And here's the thing, each one of these institutions is making money from your transaction. Yes, this is a kind of insider knowledge that I absolutely love sharing with you guys. Once again, Khan is about to pull back the curtain and show us exactly how this multi-billion-dollar industry works. We're going to understand who all the players are, how they are connected, and most importantly, how they are all getting paid when you use your credit card. This isn't just academic knowledge, guys. This is going to help you understand why credit cards work the way they do. Why merchants sometimes prefer cash, and why credit card companies can afford to give you all those rewards and cashback programs. It's all going to make sense. If you're following along with us and learning something new every few minutes, make sure you are subscribed. We are building this incredible financial literacy foundation together, and trust me, every single piece of knowledge we're gaining today is going to make you a smarter consumer and investor. So, guys, you know what I love about these Khan Academy videos? They're taking this complex financial system that seem mysterious and making them completely understandable. By the end of this video, you're going to feel like you have X-ray vision into how the credit card industry actually operates. Alright everyone, are you ready to become a credit card industry insiders? Let's hit play and see what Saul can reviews about this fascinating network of institutions. Here we go.
What I want to do in this video is try to give a reasonable understanding of the different players involved that issue and process your credit cards. So let's start off with the processors. The processors. Sometimes you could say that the network, or the processors are the people that maintain the credit card networks. And the examples of those are Visa, MasterCard, American Express, Discover. And what they do is they essentially maintain networks of IT and policies that connect a bunch of banks together. But for just the sake of this video, we'll do very simple. So let's say that this is network 1. Maybe that's Visa. Maybe this right here is network 2. This right here could be MasterCard. And right now the networks are just circles, but you'll see that they're networks as I build out this explanation. Now let's say that I'm some bank out there. Let me call myself Bank A. And I decided, you know what, it would be good for my business for me to issue a credit card. I could extend credit to my customers. They'll pay me interest. Maybe I'll make some fees off of that, and it'll be a good business for my bank. So I go up to, let's say, Visa, and I say, hey, can I be a member of your network? Visa has some policies, and if you're, I guess, a legitimate bank and you agree to all those policies, you'll become a member of that network. So I've joined that network, and I'm, of course, not the only person on that network. There's tons of other banks on that network. So that could be Bank B. This could be Bank C. This could be Bank D. And of course, each of these are networks, so they all have their own member banks on them. That's MasterCard's network right there. And so in this situation, they'll come up to, let's say I'm a customer of Bank A. They say, you want a credit card? I say, sure, that'll be convenient. I don't like carrying cash in my pocket, so give me a credit card. And they'll issue a credit card that looks something like this. The credit card, I think we've all seen credit cards. It'll say Bank A really big up at the top. Bank A. I'll have a credit card number that's unique to me. My credit card number, my name will be there, some kind of maybe an expiration date. And then here in the bottom right corner, they're going to say what network I'm a part of. In this case, it would be Visa. A credit card issuer over here would say MasterCard, or if it was American Express, they'd put American Express here. Maybe there's some type of a hologram. So great. I have a credit card here. I think we all have a general sense. I could use it, and then I'll build a balance, and then in the future, I could pay off that balance to this bank, or I could carry a balance, and they'll charge me interest, which is usually reasonably high interest, so I want to pay it off fairly quickly. But how does this actually work in the context of a network? So let's say I go to the local grocery store. Let me draw that in orange. So let's say I go to some grocery store over here. I'll say G for grocery, and I buy $100 worth of groceries, and I want to pay with my newly issued credit card. Let me write this down. This is the issuer. This is the issuing bank. I go to the grocery store, I say, hey, I'd like to pay with a credit card. The grocery store, if they accept credit cards, they need to have some relationship with another bank someplace on this Visa network in order for them to accept a Visa card. So let's say that they have a relationship with Bank B over here. This would be the merchant bank, or we could say the retailer's bank. Or it's often in credit card lingo called the acquiring bank or the acquirer. And you might wonder, why is it called the acquirer? It's called the acquirer because this is the player that goes out and goes to each of the merchants and says, hey, right now you only accept cash or you only accept American Express. Wouldn't it be great if you also accepted Visa or MasterCard? That way you'll have a more appeal to more customers, and every time, and it'll be more convenient for your customers, and every time a transaction happens, we'll just take a little bit of a cut of that transaction. And so they go out and acquire different retailers. This was the grocer. Maybe Bank B goes off and acquires the shoemaker. Maybe he goes and he gets the, gets the tailor on the network. These are all different retailers who will now all of a sudden accept Visa because their bank, their merchant bank, is a member of the Visa network. Likewise, it could have been a member of the MasterCard network. It doesn't matter. This is the processor, and this is their network. Now, this guy would, in this context, he would accept Visa. So I would give him my Visa card, and the first process is called authorization. Authorization. And that's literally to check whether I'm good for the money, whether this card is valid to buy $100 worth of, say, groceries. So when I swipe the card, or when the grocer swipes the card, it's going to send a message from that little unit, from that point of sale unit, to the acquiring bank. That's going to be forwarded to Visa. Then Visa will say, oh, that's Bank A's card, and it'll give the number to Bank A on their own proprietary network. Then Bank A will look into their database and says, oh, yeah, Sal's got $1,000 of credit. He hasn't used any of it. He is good for it. I authorize the transaction. That message goes back through the network to Bank B, and so then we get authorized. And then the transaction goes forward, and eventually, as you could imagine, you can't just authorize the transaction and then I walk away with the groceries. At some point, this guy here expects to get his money back for giving me the groceries. He expects to get $100 back. And that $100 is going to come from Bank A. But he's not going to get a complete $100 because, obviously, each of these players, they're providing a service. This guy, he's plugged into the network and he's offering credit. So he's offering credit. The network operator, or the processor, is offering their network. And there's other services they might provide, different security mechanisms. If they say, hey, Sal lives in Chicago, but all of a sudden he's buying $100 worth of groceries in Salzburg or someplace that would seems unlikely, then it might send some type of a warning trigger. So people might have their own security mechanisms. But they're all providing a service. This guy is going out there. He might be providing the actual point of sale terminals, the actual network. So they're all going to get a little bit of a cut of things. And so out of the $100, so I got $100 worth of groceries. $100 worth of groceries. There'll be a 2%, and it's not always 2%. I'm just that's a round number. But it also is a ballpark, not completely outlandish relative to what tends to be the case. So of that $100, that this guy, I guess, could have gotten for his groceries, he has to pay a 2%. He's got to pay, let's write it that way. He's got to pay a 2%, or in this case, $2. That's 2% of $100. He's got to pay a $2 discount rate to his acquiring bank, to acquirer. And you might say, gee, the acquirer, that's great. They got $2 they get 2% of all of these guys' transactions, but of course they're going to have to share it with these other people up here. And actually, the bulk of it ends up with Bank A. So of this $2, and I'm doing it in roundabout numbers, Bank A, so now we're going to split up the $2. Bank A is going to get, let's just say, $1.70. And these aren't that far off from what the real numbers might be, and they change, and they depend on the banks and the network and all of that, and the networks might change their rates. $1.70 goes to Bank A. So the issuing bank, besides now, now that I have a credit balance, it'll be able to charge interest on it. It also got $1.70 for that transaction. That $1.70 of the $2, this is called an interchange fee. This right here is an interchange fee. Interchange fee. And it generally gets set by the individual networks, although the networks don't share that interchange fee. They just say our standard interchange fee is X% of transactions plus, I don't know, 10 cents, and then that's what Bank B is going to pay to Bank A. So it's essentially Bank A's cut of the discount rate, of the $2 this guy is charging that guy. And then the network, they make their money in several ways, but in general, they make money off of every transaction as well. So in this situation, they make roughly about 1,000th of the transaction, or 0.1%. So in this example, 10 cents of this discount rate that this guy charged would go to the processor. Would go to the processor, or the network. So every time you transact, the processor gets a small fraction of your actual purchase. And then this guy will be left with 30, well, let's see, $1.70, 10 cents, $1.80. We're coming from $2. This guy's going to be left with 20 cents. So when the whole transaction gets settled, which essentially means everyone gets the money they need to get, this bank is going to send Visa's settlement bank $100 minus the $1.70 that it gets to keep as part of its interchange fee. So it's going to send Visa, what is that? That's $98.30 to Visa. Visa will keep 10 cents of it, send it to the acquirer. So the acquirer is going to get $98.20. And then the acquirer is going to keep 20 cents for itself and give the retailer $98. So my numbers aren't exact, but I want to give you the general idea of how all this works. So in order for this retailer to be able to use all of this infrastructure out there, he essentially had to pay 2% of the actual transaction. That's always not going to be 2%, but it gives you a nice round figure. So this guy benefits because he gets access to a network. It's convenient for the customers. This guy obviously is getting some type of fee. The more retailers he signs on, or the more retailers he acquires, the more cuts of transactions he's going to make. Visa makes a small cut on many, 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 many transactions, so that's where they make their money, and they obviously have to use some of that money to support all of this infrastructure. And then Bank A is going to make that interchange fee, which was the bulk of really that discount rate, that retailer discount rate, not related at all to the federal funds discount rate. And then, of course, they extended credit to me, so that $100 might not be paid immediately. They might be able to charge me 15, 20% annualized percentage rate interest on that money until I pay it off. And of course, I have some type of minimum balances to pay. So hopefully that explains things a little bit.
Oh my goodness, everyone, we just watched something absolutely incredible. Sal Khan literally just showed us the secret behind the scenes world of what happens every single time you swipe your credit card. This is like getting a backstage pass to a magic show, but that seems a little bit complicated, but don't worry, let me break this down for you in the simplest way possible. Because this is mind-blowing stuff that most adults don't even understand. So, let me give you the example. Think of it like this way. You know, when you go to a restaurant and pay with your credit card, right? It seems super simple, right? You just tap and swipe and boom, you get your food. But what we just learned is that there is this whole invisible army of companies working together in just a few seconds to make that happen. It's like when you order something online and it magically shows up at your door. You don't see the warehouse workers, the truck drivers, the delivery people. You don't see them at all, but they're all working together behind the scenes. credit cards work the same way. Here's the main players in this credit card game. Let me explain that for you. First, you have the networks. Now let me explain the networks for you. These are the big names you see on your cards. Networks. Processors like a Visa, MasterCard, and also American Express and Discover. Think of them like the highways that connect different cities. Highways that connect different. They don't own the cities, but they build the roads that let everyone communicate with each other. Then you have your bank. They're like your financial sponsor. When you got your credit card, your bank basically said, we trusted this person with our money. They're the ones lending you money. Then you use your card. When you use your card, this is your bank that is lending your money. Your financial sponsor. All right. And the next one, talk about your bank and networks, processors. Next, we're going to talk about the merchant bank. Merchants bank. This is called the acquiring bank. This is a restaurant's bank or the grocery store's bank. They're like the middleman. Restaurants or grocery stores bank. They're like the middleman who helps businesses accept credit cards. Help businesses accept credit cards. They go around and say, saying, hey, wouldn't it be cool if you could accept the credit cards and get more customers? Yes, it's really cool. And finally, we're gonna talk about there is the business. All right, and this is part of the network. The business where you're shopping. Like the restaurant, the store, the shopping mall. Whatever, you name it. Now here's a crazy part that blew my mind. When you spend $100 on groceries, let's say $100 on groceries. Let me give you an example. Okay, the grocery store doesn't actually get $100. No, they only get like about $98. So where does that missing $2 go? Where did it go? Missing $2. Alright, let me explain it for you. It gets split up between all these different players we just talked about. Your bank, the issuing bank, gets the biggest chunk. About $1.70. Let me change the color, maybe use the purple one. Okay, the missing $2. We're talking the missing $2. Your bank, the issuing bank, they get the biggest chunk. Why? Because they're taking the risk of lending you money. That's why they are taking the biggest chunk. The network, like Visa, like MasterCard, like American Express, like Discover, they get a tiny piece. Guess how much they can get? About 10 cents. So why can they get the 10 cents? They get it for maintaining those highways we talked about. Maintaining highways. And then there's merchant. The merchant's bank we talked about. How much can they get? The merchant's bank gets about 20 cents. Why? For what? Let me tell you, for helping the store accept the credit cards. Helping the store credit cards. And you think that's it? No, the store. You pay, they pay that. This is our example. The store. This is a business part. The store you're shopping, the restaurant or the store, the shopping mall, and they pay that $2 as a cost of being able to accept the credit cards. Cost, or let's say pay that $2 as a cost of being able to accept credit cards. Now you get it, guys. You've got it? So here's why this is so important for you to understand. This explains why some small businesses prefer cash. Sometimes they prefer cash. Reason why. some small businesses prefer cash. So every time you use a credit card, they lose about 2% of the sale to all these middlemen. They lose the money to those middlemen, the networks, the processors, the like Visa, MasterCard, American Express, Discover, and they lose the money to your bank who lends you money, and they lose money to merchants bank, and that's the reason why some small businesses prefer cash. So if you're buying the coffee, that $5 coffee, the coffee shop only keeps about $4.9 of it. So this is the example 2. $5 coffee, let's say. And the store can only get $4.9. This also explains why credit card companies can't afford to give you rewards and cash back. They are making money from every single transaction. When your credit card gives you 1% cash back, they are making more than 1% from the merchant. And here's the kicker. Remember that first video we watched about compound interest? Do you remember? Your bank is making money in 2 ways. They get that $1. They get that $1.7 from every transaction you make. And if you don't pay off your balance, they charge you that crazy high interest we learned about. If you're just joining us and your mind is being blown by how this financial world really works, please hit that subscribe button. We're literally getting a financial education that most people never receive. You know what I love this learning? You know what I love about learning this stuff with you guys? Now, when you use your credit card, you're going to understand the entire invisible economy that's working behind the simple swipe. You're going to be like a financial detective who can see what others can't see. This is exactly why we're going back to these fundamentals. Folks, understanding how these systems work makes you a smarter consumer and helps you make better financial decisions. Alright? Are you guys ready for our third and final video in this session? We're about to learn about payday loans. And trust me, this knowledge could save someone you know from making a very expensive mistake. Let's keep this amazing learning journey going. Alright? We're about to dive into our final video in this section. And honestly, this might be the most important one we watch today. Let me read you the description first. So this is the description of the video. Payday loans, which are sometimes called cash advances, are a form of unsecured short-term loans that are typically associated with very high interest rates. In this video, we explore an example of a payday loan and use that to better understand the defining characteristics of payday loan and how they translate into an effective interest rate created by Sal Khan. Now guys, I need you to pay extra close attention to this video because this information could literally save you or someone you love from making a financial mistake that could cost thousands of dollars. You know what payday loans are? They are those places you see in strip malls with big neon signs that say cash now or get money today. Yeah, this seems super convenient when you're in a financial emergency, right? You need $300 for rent. You don't get paid until Friday. So you think, oh, I would just borrow it for a week. How bad could it be? Well, we're about to find out exactly how bad it can be. And when I say very high interest rates in that description, guys, we're not talking about credit card rates. We're talking about rates that are so high. Yeah, so high, they could make your credit card company blush. Remember in our first video today, this one, annual percentage rate APR and effective APR? We learned that credit cards have an effective rate of around 25% to 26%. Well, payday loans, let's just say you're going to be shocked when Cellcom shows us the real numbers. This is exactly the kind of the example that preys on people who are in desperate situations. They target people who need money fast and don't have other options. But here's the thing, once you understand the math behind these loans, you will see why they're considered financial traps. I mean, seriously, financial traps. If you're watching this video and if you have never heard of payday loans before, consider yourself lucky, because if you have friends or family members who might be tempted by these quick cash solutions, this video could help you save them from a financial nightmare. And if you're learning this critical financial concept with us for the first time, make sure hit that subscribe button. This isn't just education, this is a financial self-defense. We're giving you the knowledge to protect yourself and your loved ones from financial predators. You know what I love about this knowledge, this website, and about the Cellcom? He doesn't just explain how these things work. He shows the real math, so you can see exactly why these loans are so dangerous. No sugarcoating, no fancy marketing language, just the cold hard numbers. Alright everyone, are you ready to see some numbers that are going to absolutely blow your mind? Let's watch Cellcom expose the truth about payday loans. This is going to be eye-opening. Here we go.
I think most of us have a sense that payday loans are probably not the best source for a loan, that they probably charge a lot of money to those people who need that cash really badly. And what I want to do in this video is, one, explain what they are, but even more, do a little bit of math to understand really how bad of an interest that they do charge. So the way that it works is, let's say that I need to buy my wife a nice gift for her birthday. That's tomorrow, and I want to borrow $500. So I want to borrow $500. I would suspect that most people aren't borrowing it for some type of a gift. They're desperate to make the rent or pay the utilities or buy food or who knows what else. But whatever your reason, you need to borrow $500, and I would suspect that you have very little in your bank account. Otherwise, you wouldn't go to the payday lender. And they say, all right, Sal, we're open to lending you $500, and we're not going to do all of this deep research on how good of a credit you are and all of that. But we want a couple of things. One, we want to know your pay stub and your pay date. So let me see. They're going to want to see your pay stub. They want to know when you're going to get paid. So your pay, I guess we could call it your payday. And they might want some recent bank statements. And the whole reason why they want these things is they want to know, even though your credit might be horrible, that you're going to get your salary, or you're going to get a payment from your employer probably in 2 weeks on your payday. And then you're going to be good to pay back the $500. And to ensure this, so one, they're going to make sure that you have a job, that you, in your pay stub, maybe you make $1,000 every 2 weeks, or maybe you make $2,000 every 2 weeks, so that you're good for this. So maybe it's, maybe you make $1,500 every 2 weeks, so they like to see that. Maybe your payday is 2 weeks from the day that you're borrowing the money. So 2 weeks from today. And then your bank statement shows that your bank kind of goes up $1,500, then you pay the rent and the food, then it goes back close to zero, then it goes up to $1,500. But they want to see that this $1,500 is hitting periodically. And they say, you know what we're going to do? We're going to give you the $500 today. What we want to do is you need to write us a check. And on that check, let me draw a check right here. So this is a check that they want you to write. We want you to write a check for not $500, for every $100 you borrow. So for every $100 borrowed, I want you to pay us back another $25. So $25 extra. And at first you might say, hey, that's not bad. That's 25% interest. It's high. Maybe it compares to some interest, to some credit cards. But this isn't 25% a year. This is 25% for 2 weeks. And at the end of this video, we're going to do a little bit of math on what that actually turns into on an APR or an effective APR basis. And these numbers are not crazy. These are actually very typical for payday loans. So if I'm borrowing $500, I have to give them back the $500 in 2 weeks, plus $25 for every $100. So I'm borrowing $500, so I'm going to have to do plus 5 times 25, or $125. So I'm going to write them a check for 500 plus 125, so that's $625. $625 right there. I'm going to write a check. But obviously, I don't have the money in my bank account right now. Otherwise, I wouldn't even be going to the payday loan. But what I'm going to do in the date, I'm going to forward date this check. I'm going to put the date. Let's say this is the 1st of the month. Instead of, let's say it's January 1st. Instead of January 1st, I'm going to put 1/16, and whatever year I might be doing it. So I'm forwarded. This is 2 weeks from today. 2 weeks in the future. And then I'm going to sign the check. And well, maybe usually I'll sign the check, and I'll write it's for payday loan, and I'll write 600. Well, I'll write out the words 600 and extra 25, et cetera, and then I have my little information here. And I'm going to give them this check. And what they're going to say is, we're not going to cash this. We're just going to keep this nice little check for us. And when your payday hits, you have an option. You can come back to us and give us $625 in cash, and then we will give you back this check that is uncashed. Or if you don't show up, we are just going to cash this check. So one of these two things are going to happen. But effectively, they're going to, if you didn't lie to them, they're going to essentially charge you $625. And you can imagine it is risky for the lender, because these are people with maybe shady pay stubs, and obviously they're desperate, so they weren't good at managing their finances. But they're doing their best to ensure that once that payday comes in, once that payment from the employer comes in, that they get first dibs on the money before the person can pay their rent or their utilities or their food. And so that's the general idea behind it. Now, we started off saying that it's probably not a good idea, and you got a sense of that because we're essentially paying 25% interest for every 2 weeks, not for every year. But let's think about what that is on an APR basis. So let's say we're paying, so $25 for every 100, that's literally 25%. When you say per cent, that root means 100, right? Century, 100 years. So per cent, it literally means per 100, 25 per 100. So this is literally 25% interest, or we could write it in the traditional way. This is 25% interest per 2 weeks. Per 2 weeks. So if we were to just calculate a simple APR, a simple annual percentage interest rate, annual percentage rate, and you might want to watch the video on that to understand that that just takes your 25%, and then multiplies by the number of periods in the year. So we have 52 weeks per year, but this is every 2 weeks. So instead of multiplying it by 52 weeks, we're going to multiply it by, there's 26 2-week periods in the year. So times 26 2-week periods per year. And this is 25% per 2 weeks. And when you multiply this out, this is equal to, let's get the calculator out. So you have, well, I'll just multiply the numbers. I won't do as a decimal. 20, let me turn it on. 25 times 26 is equal to 650%. We're paying an APR of 650%. So if you thought the credit card companies were charging a lot of interest, charging you I don't know, a mid-teens interest rate or a 20% interest rate, this is 650%. An order of magnitude or two above what even credit cards charge you. So this is a really, really crazy annual percentage rate. And this was just a simple annual percentage rate where we multiplied it by 26. This isn't the effective annual percentage rate or the actual mathematically correct one. To do that, we would actually have to take, and you might want to watch the video on this. If you were to let that just compound, and you can imagine if you're the payday lender, you are essentially getting that compounding if you keep lending your money out, and if you lend the interest you get from the last person, you lend that out at the same rate. To figure out that effective annual percentage rate, you do 1.25, right, 25% plus 1, to the 26th power. We have 26 of these periods in a year. And what is that going to be equal to? So we have 1.25 to the 26th power. And then we get this crazy number. We're going to want to subtract a 1 from it. Not that it's going to change much of our math. So minus 1. And we get 320. Well, let me be very clear. We're gonna be essentially, this is 329 times our money. So if this was a 1 here, that would be 100%. So this is, let me just be clear. This number right here, that number right there, it's such a high number, it's hard to fathom. If you were to actually let money compound at this rate, and usually they wouldn't let you just, they make you at least roll over the principal. So this may or may not be accurate, but the actual payday lender, if they actually are able to roll over the money at this rate, they're going to have 329 times their money. Or if you write it as a percent, it would literally be let me make sure I get the 32987. Literally 32,987%. Or after a year, you'll essentially have to pay roughly 330 times your money back to the payday lender. And obviously, they don't let you compound like that, but this just gives you a sense of how ridiculous this interest rate is. I mean, you might have heard of the term usury. Usury. In the past, usury really meant any kind of interest, but now, in our current cultural context, we associate it with just an unreasonable level of interest. And that threshold might be different for some people. Some people might say it's unreasonable to pay 20% interest, or 30% interest, or 40% annual interest. But I think everyone would agree that whether you look at 650% or 33,000%, these are usurious and unreasonable interest rates. So you really, at all costs, unless it's your life depends on it, you want to avoid these payday loans. Some people might say it's unreasonable to pay 20.
Oh my goodness, everyone, I am literally sitting here with my jaw on the floor. Did you guys just see those numbers? I need to make sure everyone understands what we just witnessed, because this is absolutely insane. Let me break this down for you because, well, anyway, let me break this down for you in the simplest way possible, because what Cell Khan just showed us is basically financial highway robbery. I'm not being dramatic, but it's really the financial highway robbery. So here's the story he told us. Imagine you need $500 really badly. So for example, $500 really badly, right? Maybe you need $500 for rent, maybe for groceries, maybe for an emergency, whatever. But you don't have it, and you won't get paid for 2 weeks. So you go to one of those cash now places. with the bright neon signs. Here's what it seems to happen. They say, sure, we will give you $500. Just pay us back $625 in 2 weeks. All right, let me put this down. So they want the $625 in 2 weeks. Well, just pay us $625 when you get paid. And you think, okay, that's only $125 extra for 2 weeks. That doesn't sound too terrible when I'm desperate. You might think that way, but here's the terrifying truth. Let me tell you, this is the terrifying truth. That $125, that $125 extra dollars on the $500 loan for just 2 weeks equals, oh, this is like crazy, equals 650% annual interest rate. Can you believe that? And if you calculate it with a compound interest, are you ready for this, guys? Guess what? It's over 32,000% every year. Now, I think you understand why I say it's a robbery. Let me put this in perspective for you guys. Your savings account at the bank, maybe. So let's just talk about the bank savings account. Maybe 1% or 2%, 1 to 2% a year. Per year. And let's talk about the credit card, which we already learned this, very expensive, right? A credit card. $25% per year. And the payday loan, Jesus Christ. Guess what? It's 650% to 32,000% per year. Now, I think you can see it very clearly. Think of it like this. If you borrowed $100 from a payday loan company and somehow let it compound for a full year at their rates, you would own them, maybe you will owe them over $32,000. That's why I think it's really terrifying. For example, you just borrowed $100, and after the compounding interest calculation, like for a full year, one full year at their rates. So what's the result? You would owe them, you will owe over $32,000. That's so crazy for a 100 loan. Seriously, that's like borrowing a bicycle and you have to pay back a brand new car. So this is so evil. And let's talk about why this is so evil. Here's why this is so evil. These companies specifically target people who are desperate. They set up shop in neighborhoods, easy access, right? Where people are struggling financially. They know that when someone needs $500 for rent and they're about to get evicted, they're not going to sit down and calculate the annual percentage rate. That's a payday loan trick. They make you write. Let me tell you more. Let me tell you something. The payday loan trick. Guess what? This is very important, guys. They make you write a post-dated check. For the full amount. So if you can't pay them back in cash, they just cash your check anyway. They get paid before you can pay your rent or buy groceries because they have your check. This is why Saucon uses the word usury. That's an old word that means charging unfairly high interest rates. Charging unfairly high interest rates. Back in the day, some places even make it illegal. Some places even made it illegal. And when you see numbers like 32,000 interest, 32,000% interest, you can understand why. Some back in the day, they made this illegal. If you're watching this and you have never heard of payday loans before, consider yourself incredibly lucky today because this is very important to protect your wallet. But if you know someone who might be tempted by those places, those cash now places with bright neon signs we just talked about, you can share this information with them. Please share the information with them. This could literally save them from financial disaster. You know what the most heartbreaking part is? Oh, this is really heartbreaking. Let me tell you, the people who use payday loans are usually already struggling with money already. And these companies trap them in a cycle where they have to keep borrowing more and more just to pay off the previous loans. So let me give you some suggestions. Here's what you should do instead of going to the cash now places. Instead of going there, like if you ever need emergency money, let me give you some suggestions. So the first one, you can ask your family or friends for help. I think this is very important, so I will just type it down. And second, you can talk to your bank. Talk to your bank. About a small personal loan. And second, just use your credit card. Yes, I know we talked about it. It's very expensive, but even with a 25% interest rate, that's much better than the 650%. And the next, you can also look into community association programs. Community assistance. Sorry for my. Oh, excuse me. Look in community assistance program. Well, the last one, you can also sell something you own. Maybe you have more ideas than I do. Just type in the chat if you have more ideas. But anything is better than a payday loan. All right, guys, remember that. All right, if you're learning these crucial life skills with us and you want to protect yourself and your loved ones from financial predators like this, please hit that subscribe button. This isn't just education, this is financial survival knowledge. I really love this kind of knowledge because we're not just learning math, we're learning how to protect ourselves from people who want to take advantage of us financially. Stay away from them, all right? Be careful. All right, everyone, we just completed an entire section on credit cards and loans. And wow, what a journey that is. We learned about the hidden APR tricks. Let me scroll down about my notes. So today we're still under the Unit 1, interest and debt. Today we talked about the annual percentage rate APR and the effective APR. We discovered the secret network behind every credit card swipe, and we just exposed one of the most predatory lending practices in existence. Yeah. Are you guys feeling more financially empowered already? Because knowledge truly is power when it comes to protecting your money. Let's keep this incredible learning momentum going. Oh wow, what's this? Argumented transcript. This is actually really cool, folks. What we just found here is what's called an argumented transcript, and this is like getting bonus educational content. You see, the Khan Academy doesn't just throw those videos out there and leave you hanging. They actually go back and add extra helpful details to make sure you understand everything perfectly. This is exactly the kind of attention to detail that makes Khan Academy such an incredible learning platform. Let me point out some of the really useful additions they made to help us understand better. Let's read it together. First, they clarified a small mistake Saul made. Did you notice that little note that popped up? Saul said 1 to 16 but meant 1 to 15. See, even Saul makes tiny mistakes sometimes when he's explaining things live. But Khan Academy caught it and made sure we got the right information. That's a kind of quality control that makes their content so reliable. And second, they added visual descriptions. Notice how they wrote Saul writes 625 in the check and Saul types 1.25 to the 26, which equals 330.8722450021. This is super helpful because if you're listening to the audio only, or if you missed what was happening on screen, you can still follow along perfectly. This argumentative transcript is basically like having a real good note taker sitting next to you, making sure you don't miss any of the important details. Its accessibility at its finest, making sure everyone can learn, whatever you're watching the video, listening to the audio, or reading aloud. But here's what I love most about finding this transcript. It shows you the exact calculator work Sal did. Look at those precise numbers. When he calculated the 1.25 to the 26th power, he got exactly 330.8722450221, and then minus 1 equals 329.8722450221. Alright everyone, wow, what an incredible journey we just completed together. We just finished lesson 3. As you can see, this is the unit 1, lesson 3 of the Khan Academy, and I cannot believe how much crucial financial knowledge we packed into today's stream. Let me take a moment to recap our entire learning journey so far, because this is building into something really powerful. So our financial education journey so far, let me go back to the very beginning. Last Friday, we tackled the lesson 1, compound interest rates, where we learned how money can literally multiply itself over time through the magic of compound interest. Remember that mind-blowing rule 72? Then we covered lesson 2, interest basics, where we understood the fundamental difference between simple and compound interest. And today we dove deep into lesson 3, credit cards and loans. And honestly, this might have been the most eye-opening session yet. Here's what we discovered today. In the video 1, APR versus effective APR, we learned that credit card companies are basically tricking us with their advertised rates. That innocent looking 22.9% APR is actually 25.7% when you factor in daily compounding. This knowledge alone could save you hundreds of dollars by helping you understand the true cost of credit card debt. And then in the second video, institutional roles in issuing and processing credit cards. The credit card network, we pulled back the curtain on the entire credit card industry. Now you understand why that $100 grocery purchase only puts $98 in the stock's pocket. We learned about issuing banks, acquiring banks, networks like Visa and MasterCard, and how they all make money from every single swipe of your card. You're no longer in the you're no longer in the dark about this multi-billion-dollar industry. And then, when it comes to the video 3, payday loans. This was absolutely shocking. We discovered that borrowing $500 for 2 weeks can cost you $125 in fees, which translates into a 650% simple APR, or an absolutely insane 32,000% effective APR. This knowledge could literally save someone from financial disaster. And So the difference between the advertised APR and effective APR due to daily compounding and how the credit card network operates. Issuing bank, acquiring bank, processor, merchant, and why merchants pay about 2% in fees for every credit card transaction. And the cost of payday loans 650% to 32,000% plus APR, and the unreasonably high interest rates, right? We really talked about a lot today. Every single lesson connect to the next one, and understanding compound interest rate help you see why credit card debt is dangerous, and understanding how credit cards work helps you see why payday loans are absolute financial poison. Now we're becoming financially literate in a world where most people are completely in the dark about these concepts. The credit card companies, the payday loan places, even the traditional banks, they are all counting on people not understanding these fundamentals. But not us, right? We are building knowledge that makes us smarter consumers and better investors, and we're just getting started. We still have seven more units to, not seven more. I think we still have 9 more units to explore in the Khan Academy's Finance and Capital Markets course. Imagine how much more empowered you will feel after we complete this entire educational journey together. So if today's stream opened your eyes about the hidden costs and the tricks in the financial world, please hit that like button right now. And if you want to continue building this crucial financial knowledge with our community, make sure you subscribe and ring that notification bell. You can also find the WhatsApp group and just hit the link. That message is pinned in the chat and join our WhatsApp group. So here's what I want you to do. Join me every single day morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Time before the market opens. We will continue our Khan Academy journey, but we will also discuss what's happening in the US stock markets, analyze earning releases, and break down those Fed economic events that move the entire stock market. You will get both the fundamental education and the real-time market insights. Remember, every successful investor started exactly where you are right now, learning the basics. But most people never take the time to truly understand these fundamentals. By showing up here every day and learning with us, you are already ahead of 90% of people when it comes to financial literacy. So guys, drop a comment below and let me know what was your biggest aha moment from today's stream. Was it learning about the hidden APR tricks, the secret credit card network, or those absolutely shocking payday loan rates? Also, if you missed our previous streams, make sure to go back and watch them. This education builds on itself, and you don't want to miss any pieces of the foundation we're creating together. Guys, I will see you tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. sharp for another incredible learning session. Until then, keep thinking about what we learned today, and remember, knowledge is the best investment you can make. Take care, everyone, and I will catch you in the next stream.